Good afternoon, my friends. This is the Grim Flayer. I hope you're doing very well today, and I hope you are ready for another Grim gameplay video where the deck tech takes however long it's going to take, followed by three matches, and concluding with a segment where we talk about the deck we just played, break it down a little bit, talk about specifically how to beat it with midrange, and I've got to say, the Grim gameplays have been so fun lately. I've been able to keep a lot of momentum going with them. I've always got something lined up to play. I'm much more amenable to playing a very wide variety of strategies or some off-meta stuff or testing new cards or whatever than I would be with committing the time and the play points to a full league. And we also are able to very easily accommodate patrons' requests with these GGs, as I know them for short. This one comes to us from long-term confidant, Benny Jackson, and Benny literally just said, "Hey Grim, I'd like to see you play this," and I said, "Okay, let's play it." And that's a great kind of example of what I hoped the Grim gameplays would become. So I have made a couple changes to Benny's list with his permission. Of course, we always get a little bit of feedback going, even if it's not quite as in-depth as it would be for a league. And basically, the idea here is that we are playing my own namesake, the card I most identify with, which I don't know what that says about me, but let's leave that aside for now. This is my avatar in the world of Modern. This is Grim Flayer. We are playing Flayer as a 3 of. Now, it is important to remember that this guy exists, because as much as he is, on average, in general, just that slight bit outclassed by alternatives at the 2-drop slot, he is definitely still a very viable card in a BG Rock strategy, and we are kind of stress testing him today. When I say stress testing, I mean this. So, Grim Flayer can be viewed in two different ways if you're considering including him in a BG Rock list. Number one, he can be included to supplement Tarmogoyf to have as many proactive, high-statted, high-upside beaters at the 2-drop slot as possible. Or you can regard Flayer as an alternative to Tarmogoyf if, for whatever reason, even though Tarmogoyf is mostly the best card in our deck, there are still metas in which it's not that well positioned. Some people have said if Tarmogoyf is bad, Flayer is good. I heard that recently, I can't remember where, but that rings a little bit true to me. Flayer certainly has a higher ceiling and more utility and more flexibility than good old Goyf. But we're not doing that. We're not playing Flayer instead of Goyf. We're playing Flayer alongside Goyf. I suppose Flayer does compete with Scavenging Ooze more than any other card, and Scooz is a great rock card, but we are also on a cat rock list with 3 main deck Lurrus of the Dream Den, enabling us to have many, many incentives to play main deck Nile Spellbombs. Those help make up for the missing Scooz, especially when they can be looped by Lurrus. One of the changes that I made to Benny's list, with his permission, is including a deadweight main deck. This card has always impressed me every single time I've played it in Lurrus decks, and we have it's joining Spellbomb and Bauble as Lurrus loopables, right? And we have an additional incentive to play deadweight. Not only is it just supplementary, really low curve removal, not only is it loopable with Lurrus, not only does it grow the Goyf like always, it also helps enable Grim Flayer's Delirium. Turn 1 deadweight into turn 2 Flayer can get you Delirium right away, basically, with the help of Bauble and a fetch land. You need to line it up really well, right? But certainly by the time you're swinging on turn 3, it can definitely be there, and that's just another little incentive. So that's one change I made. Before we move on to talk about the other changes, just a brief look at the rest of the list. It's a lot of really stock stuff. Flayer and deadweight, partially to accommodate Flayer, partially because it's kind of good in and of itself, are the only real deviations from a relatively normal Cat Rock list. We got 3 Lily Veil, 3 Trophy, 1 each of Pulse and Decay, 3 Bob, 2 Hex Drinker, 3 Inquisition, 3 Thoughtseize, 3 Fatal Push. Very well rounded. And the land base is relatively stock. 21 lands, 22. One of those numbers is usually what you want to see. The deadweight actually came in for a Hissing Quagmire, the 22nd land. It ETB's tapped. I think we only need 1. I think we can certainly get away with 21, given our low curve and all that. The fun art-related choice here is I am playing Guru lands for the first time on the channel. Borrowed some of those, good times. And in the sideboard, another change or two that was made we are seeing an engineered explosives in here. This one was my idea. Same principle. Good, well-positioned card in general. Very strong card in general. Also synergistic with Lurrus, synergistic with the Goyf and the Flayer in terms of growing them and turning on Delirium respectively. So that came in at my admonition, and we also have a Damping Sphere, which was a last-minute add, a respect to a lot of decks in the meta, given by Benny, who did message me with that one. Otherwise, I wanted to sneak a choke in there, which was not initially there. I think this is very well advised. It's not as good as Boyle. It's still kind of the best we've got against some of those decks. But, the rest of the list that you see is basically just Benny's creation, and I love it. So, rounding out the sideboard, 2 Veil of Summer, a Shadow Spear, a 3rd Nihil Spellbomb, a Kalitas Trader of Get, a Collective Brutality, and 2 each of the Plague Man, Fulminator Mage, and Ashiok Dreamrender. So we are here to stress test the Grim Flayer. I am the 4th Flayer. Why are there only 3? Because I'm the 4th. We can't legally have 4 in the deck, and I count toward that limit. So we got 3 of them, and we're going to go have some fun. Thank you so much to Benny for your ongoing support. Thank you to all Patreon supporters. And hey, thank you as well to our newest patron, an Inquisitor, Andrew Froderman. Thank you so much, my friend. Let's get into it. OP will mulligan, will definitely keep. We've got 4 wicked low curve spells, but we've got a Mana Sink and a redraw and a bunch of loopable targets with Lurrus. And full functionality with our land base. We're growing the graveyard a bit. We're insulated against Blood Moon. We've got both of our colors. We've got utility. This is a really good hand. And we'll see what the opponent's up to. A Cavern of Souls naming humans. All right. I love this matchup. Noble Hierarch. Cool. Time for Deadweight to get some action right away. You'll love to see it. Even though we've got double Hex Drinker, I'm still going to value my life total enough to get basic Swamp here. I'm going to bobble on their upkeep for fear of turn 2 Kitesail Freebooter. If we had really needed to make a decision between Deadweight and Thoughtseize, then maybe we just do that main phase. But we're just bolting the bird against humans, right? That's just totally fine. Alright, opponent goes Ether Vial, Champion of the Parish. I think I'm supposed to Thoughtseize before that last card's out of their hand, because we can play Hex Drinker after. The alternative is playing Bob, which is good too, but let's get the last card out of their hand, hopefully. No. It is not only a land, but a can land. So we are very punished. But the human's opponent mulliganed to 5, so we can't really complain. Okay, what's it gonna be? Ooh, double white and black. Is this General Kudro? It is. Ooh, that's a nightmare. It's gonna grow the champion to the point where it's bigger than Hexy this turn. It's gonna take away one of our delicious targets in the graveyard for Lurrus and Flayer and Goyf and all those purposes. So really nice top deck from OP. But we still have the advantage in a pretty significant way. So putting Hex Drinker up to level 4 is the obvious thing to do. And I think I'm supposed to. We can play a Hexy and a Flayer. If they hadn't taken our artifact out of the graveyard, I probably would. As it is, I think we're supposed to try to hold them off with Hex Drinker, maybe even try to ride Hex Drinker all the way to victory by making it level 8. As it is, there will be a couple turns starting now where Hexy's vulnerable to them finding a Reflector Mage, and that would be rough. Sometimes humans just keep top-decking gas, and it's always the perfect one, right? We gotta fade that. So there's no Reflector this turn. It's gonna give us a little bit of breathing room, one hopes, but opponent just going to work on our graveyard with the good General. And if they happen to draw exactly a 1-drop and a 2-drop, they can attack this turn with Champion and blow out our block. We'll have to consider the potential for a bluff attack if they do attack, and we'll have to maybe, just maybe, take the block anyway. Opponent seems to be weighing that option as we speak. I'm calling the bluff. Alright, bluff has been called. It's still a pretty good find for the opponent, still a pretty good trade for them overall, but it's pretty good for us as well, right? Okay, Mishra's Bauble, I like that a lot. Opponent about to draw another General Kudro, which is good, but Legendary Rule gonna come back to bite them a bit here. So we definitely want to play a Grimflayer because that's a natty 4/4. And then, is it Bob or is it Hex Drinker? We've taken a lot of life point hits already. I still am going to put my faith here in Bob, though. Without a Scavenging Ooze to stabilize us, though, things are definitely a little sketchy. We draw a trophy off of our Bauble, which is really nice. Opponent shows us a land, so we know the only card in their hand is the redundant General. They could still play it to, like, get a little value before discard gets online? Is that what's happening? Yeah, I guess so. I get it. I don't know if it's correct, but it is a spicy play. They get 2 triggers here, which is important. They grow the Champion of the Parish, and they make our discard bad. But they make our removal better this way. And bit of a coin flip, but I don't think I would have made that play if I were the OP, but I get it, and I think it's cool. Oh, Bobby flipping painfully with a Lurrus right after everything gets cleared out by the General trigger, so hey, credit to OP there. That's definitely pretty nice. Yeah, they've been pretty well rewarded for that. I think I'm just going to get the Lurrus down here and say go, holding up trophy. Right. Or we can just trophy the General right now and get an attack win with Flayer. That's probably better. We gotta set up this Lurrus to take over the game. I'm totally cool chump blocking with Bob, so I'm under these circumstances especially, so I'm probably gonna sit back with Bob. Grimflayer unwinding some of the damage dealt. So why don't we do this? We're gonna definitely bin the Inquisition. I think I'm then going to bin the Tarmogoyf so we have something guaranteed to buy back with Lurrus if the opponent doesn't attack. And also if the opponent doesn't attack, we will have a forest on top to flip painlessly with Bob. And assuming we do make the trade, it's still okay to draw a forest because we're using that extra land really well, given Hex Drinker, given Nurturing Peatland. No attack. Alright. Second main. Ooh, white and red? Maybe just a Thalia or something. Thalia's Lieutenant. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, opponent definitely could have just forced us to jump there, or given us the chance to trade, I guess. But, alright, so our sequencing rewarded. We draw Fatal Push, which is just brilliant. This is where we start rocking, my friends. We could see the concession right here. Nope. All right. Ooh, yeah, misplay. I should have attacked first with Flare. Didn't realize that. So we miss a couple points of damage here. Shouldn't matter at this stage. We're so far ahead, but learn from my mistake. Learn from my mistake. Do that second main. I'm just, like, kind of taking actions because we're definitely winning, but, following the same principles as before, I'm just going to leave Overgrown Tomb on the top. This time it's a lot less necessary to do so, but it's still fine practice. Alright. I don't know how we can lose from here to the Humans deck in game 1, but OP is going to give it a shot. Skyclave Apparition. That can beat Lurrus, but now they also have to worry about Hex Drinker, so again, seems hard to lose from here. And that's the concession. Maybe just getting a little more info out of us. Good game, though. I love Rock versus Humans. Absolutely love it. We need EE, Shadow Spear, and then all these black cards. We need to lose our 3 Thought Seizes and our 2 Nile Spellbombs if we can. And maybe a Dark Confidant on the draw. I like it. This hand is a definite keep, even though it has no threat and only 3 spells. Inquisition, Fatal Push, Liliana. Very, very impactful spells. And once again, we're going to go turn 1, Bolt the Bird. Fatal Pushing Noble Hierarch. Or no, we won't, because we draw Deadweight. Let's go. Deadweight, way cooler. If you wanted to, you could get really into the weeds with not exposing Deadweight as early to Kudro or other graveyard hate, and vis-a-vis the likelihood of growing Goyf relative to Fatal Push, but I hope you guys understand that it's relatively free either way. No bad plays there. And, well, opponent's got a really good beatdown hand, another Champion of the Parish and a Mantis Rider. I think we're supposed to hope they don't draw a land for at least 1 turn, really slow them down. That way we can push this Champion, and we'll take the other one away. Even if they do draw land, it still slows them down because they're not vialing anything in for a while. And then there is a world in which they draw another 3-drop and we get to start getting real gas out of their hand with Liliana. If not, we can still beat the Riders with Assassin's Trophy and Lily Edict. Okay, opponent drew a 2-drop. Auric Champion. Well, this is another way in which our sequencing is rewarded, because now we can Edict Champion, whereas otherwise we could not. Alternatively, we can take up with Liliana and get a Mantis Rider out of their hand and plan to be able to beat the Champion. We draw Nurturing Peatland, huh? Okay. So I think I'm supposed to take the Edict here. We get punished, for sure, if they draw the 3rd land. And I think under a lot of circumstances, taking up is actually respectable, but I like our hand well enough not to really need to do that. And our rewards are massive if we get to untap. If they draw anything besides an untapped 3rd land here, we are rewarded. Because then we get to protect Lily, and that's the game. Nice. Alright, we really hope OP plays some small creatures with this hand, but if they do, they are in some trouble. We do have some one-dimensionality going on. We have no Recourse against Blood Moon. We have no recourse against spell-based combo. Opponent goes Seachrome Coast past, maybe ad nauseum. But the good news about both of those things, especially the latter, is that we do get to play a Bob-on curve, which is perfect for the beautiful combination of pressuring the opponent and drawing into relevant interaction. So, in many ways, we keep this hand on the strength of Bob. As it turns out, it's humans again. Wow, it's my lucky day. Maybe blue-white humans, which I've heard little talk of lately, maybe as a meta call. But with no turn 1 play and with us for them, and with us being on the play, we've got a lot to like. That said, we don't hit our third land drop, which is a little bit rough. But for the millionth time, we get to deadweight an opponent, which is incredible. Unsettled Mariner, definitely taxing us in a way that is still irrelevant. Even though we couldn't do anything else proactive having missed the land drop, we still are not holding up Fatal Push and therefore have been a little bit time-walked by the combination of our failure to hit the third land and the OP's tax. But as long as our spells are lining up and we're continuing to see multiple cards, I think we'd have to get relatively unlucky to lose from here, but it could certainly happen. Opponent goes Cavern Naming Wizard. Cool stuff. We'll see what this yields. Narok Transmuter. Whoa. Making things into artifacts or making artifacts into blue non-artifacts? I have never seen that card before. It is a human wizard. We flip Trophy so we can beat that. And we flip Hex Drinker. And we draw Spellbomb. No land in the top, 6 cards? That's pretty rough. So, are we supposed to simply trophy this thing? Because I don't know what it does, I think I'm going to. It also lets us keep racing with Bob. And we have a handful of other answers. We simply have to hope at some point that we do start drawing the missing lands so we can double spell and make use of this advantage. But that is a card that you would not play just as a by-the-by, fun of. This is clearly some kind of build around, so we're just going to deal with it while we see it. They're also blue. They could have some kind of permission that punishes us if we try to be a little too cute around it. So, when in doubt, if it dies, kill it on sight. Tribute Mage. Okay. Seems good. Liquimetal Coating. Aha! Aha! I see. A Liquimetal Coating deck that's not a Karn the Great Creator deck, so far, anyway. Alright, we flip a Swamp off of Bob. Thank you, Bob. Play pattern here not quite clear. I think I'm pretty happy attacking with Bob, whether or not they take this trade. Opponent will. That's fine. We've gotten so much advantage out of Bob, it's unreal. So now the major question is, do we just pulse a Liquimetal Coating on site because it's clearly the build around, or do we do other things? I think I'm going to do other things. I think we're going to go Lurrus, Buyback, Bauble. It doesn't feel good enough to me to just pulse on site. Although it is viable, and it is, in some way, kind of more in keeping with us trophying Narok Transmuter on site. So we could definitely stand to get punished for this, but we were going to see a Buried Ruin, so they could have just bought this coating right back. And they have another one. So now, we are doubly rewarded for our play. At the same time, we don't have a great use case, a great way to permanently beat the coatings. We'd have to, like, Field of Ruin the Buried Ruin, and then we could pulse both of them. And that's something I would actually consider doing. I don't think that Cavern's in their hand, so we got a bunch of unknowns. In any case, we have plenty to do in our hand, so I'm just going to begin by buying back a Bauble, just to get some kind of value. I'm going to use this one to look at their hand before anything else happens, or look at their top deck, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Okay, we can beat that. Let's do this. Let's do this. Then we're going to attack, and we're just going to play like a Goyf and a Flayer, I'm pretty sure. Both of those things comfortably outsize Thalia. Thoughtseize, I think I'm fairly happy with that, actually. It's going to get us more info about their deck. And possibly hit something. Well, maybe not. Maybe they're just flooded. Thalia can't stand up to the beef. So, very, very interesting build from the opponent. I think we're going to treat it kind of like normal humans. Except maybe a little less interested in Shadow Spear. Sure, I think that's about right. Maybe a little more interested in Thoughtseize, but we'll cut the spell bombs. And we'll still cut one Bob on the draw. Bob and Thoughtseize are both better here than they are against the normal humans deck, but I think I'm going to lean a little more into Thoughtseize. I will keep this hand. It has, it's like some of the other hands we've seen here in that it's not the most perfect curve out. It doesn't really set the world on fire, but it's functional and it's flexible. And in matchups where our stuff kind of lines up anyway, that is probably good enough. Champion of the Parish. All right. You got it. So the Nightmare here is Thalia, who would increase their clock, tempo us out of our already tempo negative position, being on the draw and having no 1-mana interaction. Looks like that is exactly what they have. That is rough. If only we had a good old Deadweight. Or Fatal Push, but really Deadweight, right? Deadweight OP. Alright, so Tarmogoyf. Okay. I'll play my 2-2 with upsides when connecting over a 0-1. But we are getting tempoed out. That was the fear with this hand, and they're showing us like a really normal aggressive humans progression, which is not precisely what we saw game 1. That might be just like a meta call, that Liquimetal coding package to attack different parts of the meta. Tribute Mage is some spice, though. It's a 2-for-1 in Tribe that supports that type of, meta build around the one-ofs, whatever they might be. Mishra's Bauble, eh? If we escalate super aggressively with with brutality, can we achieve Delirium? We pitch a land, an instant, and a creature. We can't pitch all three. But if we could, and then we could play Bauble, not that that would be good anyway. Okay. Roll it back. Let's rein it in a little bit. Cancel. We gotta... Yeah, okay, I'm going to respect my life total a lot here. To the point where I think I am escalating pitching Field of Ruin, hoping that they don't punish us with like a Buried Ruin. But we got to kill this Thalia, so kill her, drain you for 2. And I guess if we had escalated a tad more aggressively, but again, that's just incorrect, right? Let's look at what's on the top before we do anything else. Another Thalia? Okay, good to know about, I guess. I'm offering this trade here. Opponent's taking it. Fair enough. At this stage, I'm pretty happy to keep the board clear. And our upside was pretty high for connecting as well. Ooh. Opponent looks like they might be trying to play the coding. They missequenced. I think that's exactly what happened. You got to play the coding first. I don't know how irrelevant coding will be in this game, but if it is, that could be part of what helps us get there, I guess. Okay, Fatal Push is a great draw here. Great draw. So we're holding up Push, then we'll still have Trophy in the back pocket. Beginning to really not care about Thalia. So if they just kind of don't do much here, maybe we're pushing Champion on the unstep and trying to race. Pretty fascinating build from the opponent here. If anyone has seen this out there, let me know. Hit me up with the list in the comments if you so desire. Yep, we're just going to push the Champion at this stage. Plague Engineer, what a draw! What a draw, let's go! That's exciting, guys. That is super, super exciting. Are we going to scoop to that? Nope, we're going to play it out. This is so clutch, though. It's just another 2-for-1. It stops us from getting taxed, which does matter even though we don't care as much about it anywhere near as much as we did. And we are still holding up Trophy in the event of some of their Liquimetal coding-related synergies coming online. We can obviously still crack Peatland on the S-step. That was just so efficient. Okay. Maybe we should have trophied Liquimetal coding before we even let them have any fun with it, right? But we're about to see what happens. We're about to see what all the spice is about. Thieving Skydiver. I see. That's what this is about. I haven't played against this card yet. If I had, maybe I would have seen this coming. Wow. Alright, they gain control of Argoif. That is a nice 2-for-1, but it's not the very end of the world, you know? They've had to kind of work for that. We've got X-for-1s of our own. We've got the trophy to beat it if we need to. We got another trophy, sure. Mishra's Bauble. Alright. Let's see what's on top, which will help inform our decision on what to trophy. Bounty Agent. Destroy target legendary permanent that's an artifact, creature, or enchantment. Whoa. We don't have any legendary permanents yet. I don't know if I'm supposed to shuffle that away or not. I'm not going to attack. I think Plague Engineer is still doing a lot. I don't want to trade it for the Merfolk. Let's see what we draw off of Bauble. A land. Alright. I think I'm supposed to shuffle this away. It's a body. Like, we might not care a ton about it, but I think we could care enough about it to shuffle it away. It might be better in the long run than their average draw. At least that is my hope. So we shuffle that away. Our knowledge of the hand is back to nothing. And we're just going to kind of have to trophy our own Goyfure most likely. Obviously, if they draw more Skydivers, leaving the Liquimetal coating around is a disaster. An alternative line is to try to out-top deck the opponent here and, like, just take the trade with Plague Engineer. Maybe that's actually better. I think we've got higher card quality. Let's take our 2-for-1 with Plague Man. That's fine. And then I'm going to trophy the coating before they get any more joy out of it. Well, you know, we don't actually strictly need to because we don't have any more targets for this stuff yet. So let's let them make a play here if they have one. And then we'll see what to trophy. Unsettled Mariner. All right, got a trophy in response here. I certainly can accept that I might not have played this optimally. Now I'm seeing it all come together. Definitely could have sequenced a little bit differently if I knew about this stuff in advance. They have a backup coating. Bruh. That's rough. And what is this, like a third Thalia? Oh, man, okay. We are max punished for taking that trade with the Plague Man. Mishra's Bauble, huh? Well, we're getting taxed doubly. But if we trophy the Thalia here, we can then play a Bauble. I'd love to control my own draw step, but we actually can't given all their tax effects. I think they're going to get over the line against us. This was definitely a little bit of a tough call. Maybe we're supposed to... No, because with Plague Engineer we can still kill this flyer. This X1 flyer, and that's pretty important, right? I'm sorry, we can and we should control our own draw step now with Bauble. I counted a little bit wrong. So let's Bauble ourselves. We are about to draw Field of Ruin. I will shuffle that one away. We have used only one Fatal Push, so I'm going to wait till our trigger goes on the stack before I shuffle it away, and I'm also going to get a basic Swamp. That way we have the ability to cast exactly push. No, I'm sorry. I keep having to correct myself. We can't cast push anyway because of Unsettled Mariner's tax, so I'm just going to fetch the tap Shockland. There we go. This is all maybe rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, because we're just dead to another hit. And we've drawn a brick with Inquisition, and we have also drawn a brick with Thoughtseize. So let us Thoughtseize the opponent for maybe a little more info. And then we're going to die. Ether Vial. Got it. Okay. Very, very interesting. And opponents' build-arounds with Thieving Skydiver, Liquimetal Coating, and Trinket Mage got us pretty good there. I think I want the Dark Confidant back. Still might go back down on Thoughtseize a bit. We could also... I think I'm actually pretty happy cutting a Hex Drinker, playing slightly higher degrees of interaction, or even a Grim Flayer. Maybe just because we've been getting clunked up sometimes and the taxation matters, maybe we'll cut a Grim. I think I have faith in Bob here on the play to be a 3 of. Sure. Alright, well, we only have a 1-lander, but it's got dead weight, so it's a must keep, right? I'm going to keep it. We've got 2 looks at the second land. Thanks to Mishra's Bauble. We cannot hold up dead weight, which is definitely its failing. but still a very strong hand if we just draw that second land right away. Or we can probably afford to miss it for the first draw cycle if they present a deadweight target. They do not present a deadweight target, so now we have to see a land in these top two to really curve out. We see a Goyf and a Peat land. It's painful, and we're playing a painful Bob, but I will absolutely take it. Now we just want to hit a land per turn. Hit a land per turn and a spell per turn, and we should bury the opponent pretty well. Unsettled Mariner. You're going to get dead-weighted. But let's keep curving out with our lands. Thoughtseize and Bauble. Missing the land again. And getting taxed in some pretty impactful ways here again. Yeah, the third land would be great. I'd happily Thoughtseize here, despite the increasing toll on our life. I forgot even to look at the opponent's top deck, but it was a Devout Chaplain that we know about, and now also another Mariner. Got it. Devout Chaplain. Wow, really spicy. Alright, Bob, we need a land off of you, my friend. And that's just the scoop? Oh, I guess having missed the land drop themselves, they don't feel they can beat us. We are about to draw Fatal Push, third land. Okay, we had the opponent buried. We're curving out with lands, Kalidas, more discard. If they're stuck on lands, we do run away with the match. So sorry you guys didn't get to see that executed, but look at our progression. I think we got it pretty well covered, and I guess OP has seen the writing on the wall. But definitely, hey, a good one to know about, a different home for that Thieving Skydiver Merfolk card and Liquimetal Coating. Two cards which are seeing play in other shells, Coating a classic card, the Great Creator target, and the Thieving Skydiver shell generally looks a little bit different. But Blue-White Humans has popped up a little bit in discussions right now as a meta call, not having some of the same weaknesses that 5-color Humans does, and still a lot of the same strengths. And then it can incorporate maybe a package like this. Very cool. Oh, we've got Deadweight. We've got Deadweight. It's a snap keep. How can we lose? We're against a Lurrus deck, so Deadweight is going to be live. Even if it's only to kill the Lurrus late game, it's still definitely got a target. And OP will mulligan kindly. They realize we're not a companion deck, and therefore the sporting thing to do is to mulligan to 6 to make the starting hands even. Thank you. And it's Inquisition time off of Overgrown Tomb. And we see Archmage's Charm in a Lurrus deck, plus Cling, Snap, and Spell Snare. Wow, how intriguing. Maybe a Shadow deck or something-ish? Or, yeah, I guess it's gotta be Shadow, right? Anyway, I think I'm going to take the Charm, playing a little bit for the longer game. Although being on the play, there is an argument to getting Liliana underneath it, right? But right now, there's no obvious target for their Spell Snare. The Cling to Dust is always decent, but there's no obvious blowout from that either. An opponent has drawn Mishra's Bauble for a turn, so will they fix their own draw, or will they be happy to get a blind draw? We'll see. We draw Assassin's Trophy. Got it. I'm going to play out the Catacombs, because if the opponent baubles us, we can mess with their knowledge. They're going to bauble themselves. Makes sense. All right, this is intriguing. We really want to fade discard, and we want to fade 2-mana Permission. Those are the things we don't want to see from OP. We can resolve Liliana, I think we'll be in a pretty good spot. Opponents being conservative with their Cling to Dust didn't just fire it off on any old target there. To cantrip, right? Alright, we've drawn Thoughtseize. Tempting to clear the way for Lily, but I think we're supposed to jam. Alright, nice. So I'm going to pitch Trophy here, and we could definitely live to regret that, but we don't know that they have a third and beyond land. We don't want to give them one. And we know that Deadweight does have targets with Snap and Luris, and we also know that Spell Snare can beat Trophy. Although, two countervailing concerns are, number one, that they'll pitch the Spell Snare here, and number two, another angle of attack is Trophy and Field, plus maybe other such effects, eventually running them out of basics. If they're a Grixis deck, that could be the case. But they do pitch Cling to Dust, and that makes some sense too. So they hold on to the Spell Snare, we are rewarded, right? Whoa! I thought they were going to snap and flash and snap for pressure, but they flash in Soaring Thought Thief. This is Rogues, and it's starting to make a little more sense now. I'm still not, Archmage's Charm is just, I guess, a powerful top-end card, right? Kind of like how Merfolk played Cryptic Command a little while ago. It is a 1-2 of, but this is probably a better fit, just because it's a little lower curve. Might be the same energy, but I haven't played against Rogues before. Flash, flying 8 or more cards in our graveyard, then it's an Anthem effect. Whenever it attacks, it mills us. Got it. Milling over some decent stuff. Inquisition would be fine there. Forest, I don't mind. I also don't mind just edicting here with Liliana. Dark Confidant. Interesting. Alright, so I don't really want to tick up with our hand. I like everything, including, yes, the Deadweight. I do still like that. So why don't we just edict the Rogue? I think that's fine. And then we will... Okay, they're gonna Snapcaster and... Whoa, okay. Jeez, they just have more Rogues to flash in. It's messing up all my sequencing, because I keep thinking, okay, if we do this, they're going to either flash in the Snap or they're not, and it's going to be one or the other. But they just got more Rogues to flash in. And this is where Deadweight falls short, but that is okay. What does this one do? Flash, Death Touch if we've got a full graveyard, and gets big. Got it. Okay. All the Rogues. So we can take away the Spell Snare here if we want to and resolve the Bob. And it looks like they are finally gonna flash in the Snap just for a body. And this is good for us, because now we get to do everything. Now we get to Deadweight something, which is going to be the Snap, right? But the big question is, do we want to, or do we want to save Deadweight for Luris? I think we're supposed to just Deadweight anything here to be efficient. We have so many good effects coming down the pipeline. The Lily's dead either way. Bob can't block the flyer. So we have to hope our 2 cards per turn with Bob bury the opponent. They can put Luris into hand, but that's going to make our discard effects good. Opponent's milling us out with some Rogues. Playing against a lot of small creatures today. It's definitely good matchups for Rock in general, and definitely fun Magic. Opponent trying to tap on the damage step here. I suppose they don't intend to. Alright, Luris into hand it is. Alright, Bobby. Let's get a couple good ones here. Tarmogoyf. 7-8. Tarmogoyf, to be exact. And Mishra's Bauble. I'm going to Bauble myself. Lily of the Veil. Alright, I'm happy enough to draw Lily. Like, if we didn't want the Lily, we could field them to shuffle our own deck. If we had something at instant speed, we could get rewarded for that. We don't have either. I still think it's fine. Let's jam. 7-8 Goyf is definitely going to take some stopping here. And we can crack Peatland on the unstep, which I think we're supposed to, despite the fact that it does definitely clunk up our progression a little bit when we're trying to double spell off of Bob's. The toughness 3 on this thing has changed the game immensely. If that had just been able to get beat by our deadweight, or if the deadweight admittedly was a 4th fatal push, then I think we'd be in a more commanding position here. Alright, we find Swamp. Bob will flip Verdant Catacombs. And Lurrus of the Dream Den of our own. Cool. Alright, so Thieves Guild Enforcer can trade with Goyf if they have that. If they have another one of these to flash in, it can also beat Bob pretty badly. Let's ship in with only Goyf. I don't want to lose my Bob to a flashed-in creature of any kind, really. Alright, nice. So opponent could be holding up Archmage's Charm here for permission. They could still be remaining a little more judicious with a flash threat. They know about the Verdant Catacomb, so I suppose we should play that one. Thin out our deck a little. No, we shouldn't. No, I mean the life total matters too. I'm just deciding between Lily and Lurrus, right? I'm going to go for the Lily, but it is very close here. Okay, I kind of just figured this would happen. Yeah, whatever it is gets countered, that's fine. We are punished for not attacking with Bob, though, because one way we could have, you know, not let the opponent have everything there is to attack, and if they had something to flash in, maybe then we get to resolve a Lily or a Lurrus, whichever it would be. Again, I repeat, though, the 7-8 Goyf gonna take some stopping. There's their Lurrus, but there's a jump block in their future. With... Oh, yeah. Our Lurrus is going to beat their Lurrus, right? Because our Lurrus is going to get to buy back Deadweight. So Deadweight's actually going to end up being OP after all. And that's just assuming we just don't draw another kill spell, right? Okay, so OP... Hey, we draw Fatal Push anyway. GG, I guess, right? As long as we have a Swamp to get, which it looks like we do. Let's begin there. This is going to be a really nice finisher. Swamp. Lurrus. Deadweight. Fatal Push. Swing in for 9. The opponent's at 8. GG. Alright. Very cool. Great game from OP. Well played. Really cool Rogues deck. And our sideboarding is probably just about what you'd expect. Veil of Summer is really interesting here. They're literally a blue-black deck, so I'm going to play it. We're going to see how good it is. I want to trim around the edges here. Hex Drinker is a bit of a liability, I think, against Archmage's Charm and in a couple different other ways. Let's Let's do it like this. We're going to lower our curve too. This is very debatable, a lot of this stuff, but I'm going to roll with something like this until we see more. Alright, despite our lack of green, I think it's a keep. We've got a couple looks at it. As always, thanks to Bauble. Bauble's so useful in this regard, helping us curve out early. Your losing to your own deck rate is a lot lower, I think, on Catrock with Baubles. But OP's got turn 1 Ancestral Vision? GG. We can't beat that. Brutish. Brutish, I say. Alright, we can't even hold up our Veil of Summer. Not that they're probably thought-seizing us, but I expect them to play some amount of black-based interaction post-side, and certainly some amount of blue-based interaction has been confirmed. Veil could definitely rot in hand some of the time against this deck, so we'll see how good it is, but again, I thought it was interesting and worth trying out. Greenland? Nope. And there it is. Okay. Yeah, we cannot protect our Goyf anytime soon the turn we play it, even next turn, because we don't have double green, so I'm just going to run one out. If we're competitive in the game, I suppose we will have spots for Veil to be good, and opponents got to eliminate, and then they're going to surgical the Goyfs. Oh, no. Okay. I don't know how much I like that play, frankly, in a vacuum, but they're rewarded for it, so we have another one in hand, and they get to see our Veil of Summer. Insane. I mean, we can still definitely beat this deck without access to Tarmogoyfs, though. The big problem is these types of exchanges are... These types of, like, really tempo-efficient and knowledge-positive one-for-one exchanges are really good for OP because they kept 7 with a turn 1 Ancestral Vision suspended. That is where we are running into the spot where we'll probably lose. I'm feeling pretty far behind after that turn 2, but I don't believe it was wrong to play the Goyf. If we had a our third land in hand was multicolored, then maybe. Then we could hold up Veil and push. Maybe the opponent gets time walked a little bit, and then we could again protect the Goyf from that eliminate. But given our all basics all the time setup, we kind of had to make that play. They put Lurrus into hand, playing for that long game. We draw another threat that we cannot protect. So to that end, I'm actually definitely just going to play a Lurrus and get a guaranteed 2-for-1. And guaranteed max efficiency. But Ancestral Vision's going to break this game in half. Thieves Guild Enforcer coming into OP's hand. They do have awkward mana. They might not really be able to do anything that could be that could give us a bit of breathing room, like if they can't kill Lurrus right now due to their lands. Oh boy, that'll be nice. Sweet, they cannot. Alright. So we find a 4th land, it is green, now we can protect Lurrus. Now things are getting really interesting. Now we might be able to outgrind the Ancestral Vision. So let's buy back a Bauble, get some guaranteed value. Let's go for an attack. We can push a Snapcaster if they decide it's a good idea to try to flash one in. Lifelink secured, very nice. Then we are going to keep the pressure up with a Grim Flayer. Hopefully they don't have a Spell Snare. We'll still be able to beat it, but I would rather protect Lurrus. They do have a Spell Snare. I think we're supposed to take the guaranteed 2-for-1 with Veil here. Grim Flayer is a good card too, like under these circumstances. And they still might not be able to kill Lurrus anyway, right? Even though they're going to get to fix their mana next turn with Field. Now, on their upkeep, we will bauble them. We'll have Revolt for this turn in case that matters. We're holding up 2 pushes. And next turn, we can go Kalitas into holding up push, which is pretty good too. Alright, opponent about to find a land. Not that they ever weren't going to off of this draw 4 turn, but we know they have a Clearwater pathway / Murkwater pathway. Definitely pretty cool stuff. They play it as the back half, the black half. Damnation! Oh no, really? That was not on my radar at all. That's interesting. Okay. There are more control elements here than I really gave credit for. A pretty well-timed Inquisition, so let's lead there, even though it doesn't let us go Kalitas hold up push. They have Lurrus in hand as we knew, and then triple Soaring Thought Thief. These things die to push. And right now, there's no answer to Kalitas, so I guess we just take away the Lurrus. Take some damage here, get our Kalitas down, and hope that they can't draw a kill spell for him, because he'll snowball this game, backed up by a couple pushes, no problem. There's 1 unknown in OP's hand, 3 Soaring Thought Thieves, and a Thieves Guild Enforcer. Alright, so opponent did definitely manage to flip the table back on us with that Damnation. That was rough. That was rough stuff. Alright. Begin with an attack here. Let's go for a Fatal Push. We know they only have potentially 1 of something, like 1 permission spell or 1 other Thieves Guild Enforcer to flash in, whatever it's going to be. Looks like they have some kind of permission. Very intriguing. It smells a little bit like it could be a Mana Leak. I don't know what's going on here. We'll just have to see. If they drew 1 relevant thing at all, that's pretty rough. Soaring Thought Thief. They just get a lot of mills this way? Is that the idea? Okay, are we supposed to take a guaranteed kill on this Thought Thief too? Let's see if they want to block first, I guess. Alright, while there's relatively shields down, should we just get, again, a guaranteed kill that makes a zombie? Or should we play a little more judiciously with this last push? I think I'm going to take the kill. The zombies might not line up all that well against their 2/3s, but they do grow Kalitas. We do get everything under permission this way. And I'm going to shock that in because we're only going, quote-unquote, down to 20 to do so. Of course, being more mana efficient on the unstep, cracking that peatland. So they have 2 Thought Thieves and 2 Unknowns in hand. And we have a Kalitas ready to rumble. A couple zombies at his beck and call, and a Delirious Flayer. Very nice. Cool. Mishra's Bauble off of the Peatland, Nile's Spellbomb. Intriguing stuff. I think we're just going to cast them both and then go to attacks. We could also crack the Spellbomb right now, actually. Sure, I actually think I will. We could get rewarded by drawing a discard spell here. Ooh, Snapcaster Mage. They were not able to go Snap Damnation last turn. 1 land short. I guess they can go Snap Eliminate on the Flayer. Fair enough. It's pretty good for them. Yes, I will. And we draw a trophy as well. Pretty nice. Now that opponent is mostly tapped out, including tapped out of Field of Ruin, we could bauble right now for a little info off the top, but I don't think I will. I think we'll wait till their turn. We'll just be, again, relatively judicious with our plays here, now that we're the ones ahead asking all the questions, etc. Snappy taking a trade with a zombie. Do we allow that trade to happen? I think yes, that is fine. Where one zombie goes down, another one grows in its place, so it's more value positive this way. And now we will bauble. Holding up trophy, holding up a Kalitas activation. Opponent drawing a brick off the top in the form of Polluted Delta. Even if they're on like a one of Mystic Sanctuary, we just cleared out their whole graveyard. Nile Spellbomb, OP. I have to say, Benny, your build's really getting rewarded here, my friend. You got a lot to like about it. We're seeing a lot of action from a lot of the cards that you were high on. And now we've got Inquisition, which doesn't really matter because we know their whole hand. Oh, no, we don't, because there's a Polluted Delta. So it's not clear whether we should Inquisition because we've also drawn Blooming Marsh, and we cannot activate Kalitas and cast Trophy, so I think I'm going to just attack. Opponent most certainly going to have to chump block at least once here, you imagine, unless they've drawn, like, Fatal Push or whatever. Maybe they decide they want to go for a double block on Kalitas. Trophy, of course, going to help beat that. As well as Kalitas himself growing can beat that. See how they block. It might have been better actually to trophy before this, but whatever. I don't think we can realistically lose from here. No need for the Inquisition here. Anything better than what they had would have been used that turn, right? Or is so high curve that we can't hit it with Inquisition. All right. 26-1. Kalidas in the Horde, and there we go. Taking down the Rogues. Love to see it. And there we go, my friends. That was Flayed Catrock, or whatever I'm going to decide to call it by the time this comes out, for Benny Jackson, long-term confidant. Shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for a fun suggestion. Thank you for your ongoing and generous support. And thank you as well to Andrew Froderman, our newest patron and Inquisitor. So, this was 3 small creature opponents, and that is not something you see every day. If it did, Rock would be tier 1, right? And that would be a lovely place to be playing Modern in. We don't have that, but Modern is a hellscape right now, according to the consensus anyway. That's why it's fun to do something a little off meta, play against other decks that are real and are good, but also are not tier 1 or tier 0, fire design, busted, brand new combos based on brand new synergies, etc. It's a Rock versus humans. And it's a Rock versus humans again. It's a Rock versus Rogues. We're taking down the tribes here. And, again, these are good matchups for Rock. I don't think that's a coincidence that we won all 3 of them, but it was good skill testing, fun, enjoyable, real interactive Magic. That was great. And I will say that if we knew we were going against a bunch of tribal decks, a bunch of low-curve aggro decks, the miss of Scavenging Ooze would definitely give me pause. We did not play Skoos, we did play the Flayer. Flayer is good in those matchups, but not as good as Skoos. That said, despite that, Grim Flayer was amazing here, was a huge MVP. The size of him was relevant. The ability to get Delirium a lot was relevant. We were very consistent with Delirium, even able to rebuild Delirium a bit against General Kudro of Dranith out of the 5-color humans player, and our one of Deadweight. Giving myself credit here for wanting to main deck this. How rewarded can we get? We saw it in our opener all the time. It was hugely relevant as interaction. We were able to buy it back with Lurrus. We were able to use it to achieve Delirium with Flare. We were able to get 7-8 Tarmogoyfs off of it. This was a rocking, my friends. This was a flaying. I had a lot of fun. Other than that, there's not much to say specifically about the list or how it performed, because you guys have seen me play Rock a million times, and if you haven't, that means you're new to the channel, and you've got a bunch of archives of me playing Rock to peruse, so have fun doing that. In any case, this was a great success if you ask me. We had a lot of fun. We got to do Rock things. We got to show Flayer and his utility and his power, and we also got to see the Catrock build really get rewarded. Sometimes it feels bad when you're main decking Lurrus and you're against an opposing companion Lurrus deck. Those things can come back to bite you because they have the free 8th card, but the main deck Lurrus was really important for our tempo and for our curve outs this Grim gameplay, and that was definitely pretty sweet. We had all the Rock things come together. We didn't need half of the sideboard, right? We didn't need our Damping Spheres, our Fulminators so much, stuff like that. But we did actually have a good Veil of Summer movement, even against a tribal deck. It shows you the flexibility and power of this card. And the Rogues deck and the Blue-White Humans deck put up really good fights. The 5-color Humans is a stronger deck than either, put up the least good fight against us due to some mulligans and due to some fail rates happening to them and some pretty brutal curve outs from our side of the table. So that is about what I've got to say. This segment here, we're all familiar with this deck. We're all familiar with how to play mirror matches. The only thing I'll say specifically as it pertains to this list is when you see Grim Flayer on the opposite side of the table, a few things happen. Number one, you have to care even more about the intricacies of their graveyard than you do with Tarmogoyf, because Tarmogoyf being one bigger or one smaller, especially in the early game, might not make or break the match, but Grim Flayer being too bigger or too smaller earlier, as far as the PT goes, can. because that's a significantly bigger difference in the early stages, and more importantly, it can also be the difference between the Grim Flayer opponent being able to connect and get an on-damage trigger or not. And those triggers, as we did see in places today, can really set up ways to ensure the right half of the deck and take over the game. You know, people say BGX doesn't really have card selection, and they're mostly right, but one of the most playable cards that does have conditional card selection is Grim Flayer, and that is why I never hate to see him as a one-of, and in certain situations you could justify even more, because look, he does a little bit of everything the deck wants to do, reasonably high floor, reasonably high ceiling. Definitely a card that can play. So keep that in mind. Your Collective Brutalities, and for that matter, your Deadweights and other similar cards that historically can fall short against Tarmogoyf and Scavenging Ooze, they can definitely have more windows of opportunity to hit a Grim Flayer, so keep all of that in mind. Remember the normal shuffling tricks, like if the opponent sets up a Flayer top deck by putting at least one card, possibly more on top, as again we did today. You can force them to shuffle with Field of Ruin. You can more or less force them to shuffle with Assassin's Trophy, although it is a May ability. In a mid-range mirror, they will almost never not take that free land. You can't afford to leave resources on the table, right? So those are my tips against the card Grim Flayer itself. Gotta respect it. It's a must answer, and that is why it is a card that can rock just like Bobby, just like Goyf, just like Skooz and Hexy, and all the rest of our lovely Golgari companions here. Now, companion's not the right word. This card's our companion. Everything else is something else. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. More Grim gameplay to come. Once the meta becomes more interesting to me, settles down, maybe we get some bans. I do also plan on entering preliminaries, challenges, stuff like that. For those of you who maybe didn't watch the What is Grim gameplay video, the idea here is that I can produce a lot of wide-ranging and fun content on a very regular basis, with Grim gameplay as the bread and butter of the channel, occasionally doing leagues, but not really making those the bread and butter anymore. Leagues will be done at the request of people who have earned them, and probably not really much else, but the competitive edge of the content will still be there when we get into the prelims or challenges or whatever it might be. And I want the meta to settle a little bit before I do that. I also need it to line up with my schedule, so it's not like I'm going to play the majority of them, but I do plan on playing some, bringing you that content until, and of course, as the need for these things arises, theory video, spoilers, coverage, all the rest. But until then, we got lots more Grim gameplay in the tank coming up for you. Hit subscribe, please, if you have not. Give this a thumbs up, and I'll see you for the next one.